Okay. Chapter 6, page layout. Chapter 6. Yes. What happened in chapter 5? 5 is gone. It's in the past. It's left us. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 was we did basics. 2 was basics. 3 was CSS. 4 we took CSS to the next level. We did more with CSS, more with casting style sheets. We played with more of the graphics on that. 5 was more of the design. That's what we were talking about last week. Web design, play with the headers, the layouts, things like that. There was no assignment with 5, which is probably all of you didn't do any of it because when there's no assignment, I get it. So, and I'm not cracking on you guys. I understand it. So 5 was nothing. I want you to focus on the web project, but we're going to go back into 6 now as the page layout, which kind of goes off from 5. Okay. And you can see here, web project phase 1. So you've got until the 6th. I have a 6th on here. I'm all over the place. When is the 6th? So it's next Tuesday. So actually, I gave you until next Tuesday for that. There you go. So you actually have until the 6th for both chapter 6 and the web project. They're both due, and I will fix that. Okay? If you're never sure, you can also check the calendar in here. You can check this in the calendar, and it'll tell you the due dates and all that. So yeah, so chapter 6, November 6th is when that's due. So really, you have until next Tuesday. Yeah, actually, it's a week. I'm not sure why I did that, but I think I gave you extra time. I think because the scheduling was different. Okay? All right. So let's just look at chapter 6. We're going to do some sample code. Here, look at. So what I did was, in this chapter, if you go into Blackboard, you can follow along, just like the people at home do. Okay, you got your PowerPoints. That's what I'm showing you now. You can download those. There's videos talking about pseudo classes. We'll talk about all this stuff, practice. These are the student files. I put them up here for you. Even though, remember, we downloaded them all at the beginning, I put them in there for you also. These are the files that should go with this book too. All right, 7th edition. Because in here, okay, practice exercises, and then again, your assignment. So let's look at a couple things here. All right. Now, these PowerPoints are from a newer edition, but it doesn't matter. It's all the same stuff, so don't worry about it. Okay. A lot of this, if you haven't figured out by now, is a lot of. I'll try and stay close to this. So I don't know how many of you have listened to any of the videos. I've only created a couple. I'll try to stay close because it's recording, or I can do this and walk around like this. But that doesn't get very comfortable. I'm waiting. We're supposed to get Bluetooth mics, which is nice because then I can walk anywhere. Yes, but it's better than not hearing me at all. I can talk slow. So I can do it for you. That helps. Okay, so CSS. We're going to play with stuff like margins, floats. Again, CSS, the whole idea behind it is, if you haven't figured out by now, and hopefully you have, is you've got the HTML page is the content, right? So that's the content, and the CSS is what you are doing to the content. That's why we're spending so much time in here, because a big part of the web is making it look pretty, making it look really cool, making it look really nice. So that's what all this is about, okay? So they talk about this box model, all right? And I'm not going to walk away far from here. Okay, so you've got your content, which is in the middle of the screen. You can see on the right side there. So there's your content, and that's everything you do around the content. What do you do with this? So they use this box model to give you an idea about that. All right? Yeah. Wow, that's okay. It still works? As long as it still works, don't worry about it. Hey, it's like driving a car. If the floor panel goes out, you're still driving, just let it go. It's a feature. Padding, you're just going to have to learn this terminology. So you've got your content in the middle, and then you've got things like padding and the border and the margin. And when you look at it, you can look at this diagram, and you can see what it's talking about. That's all it's talking about. So you know. And what it's all about is spacing and putting things right. I told you at the beginning of the class that I am aesthetically challenged. By that, I mean graphics and design. I'm not the best at it, so I kind of keep it very base way of going it. If you're really good at it, you can have fun with all this stuff. If you're like me and you're kind of challenged by it and you're like, yeah, I kind of get, just learn the basics because you're going to want to understand how this stuff works, some basic stuff. Because you may have a project where you may need to adjust stuff, okay? And it's nice to know how some of these things work, okay? So here's some very simple codes. Guess what? Here's an H1 code. What is H1 probably? It's a yeah, margin, right? You do a header, and then in there I have this keyword. So I've got a margin, right? And I'm sending my server. Okay? But look at this. It tells you top, right, left, bottom. So I don't know if you have to do some type of thing in your head just to remember what it is. TRLB. TRLB. Top, left, right, bottom. Okay? And that gives you the margin. So that's what these numbers are for. If you just do one number, it does them all. All right? If you want to do different ones, you can do different ones. And that's what's going on there. It's got each of the margins on there. That's all that's happening. So you can set different margins. I can have my top ones at a certain height. I can have my side ones at a different height, things like that. That's all that's going on there. Looks like it's a lot of code, but really it's pretty simple. H1, setting a margin, and then it's setting that width. Okay? So let's do, I'll tell you what, if you go into Blackboard, let's do that. Instead of listening to me, on page 243, there's a hands-on practice exercise. We can play with some of this together. Because it's fun doing things together, isn't it? When you're alone, it's kind of boring. But okay, come on. You what? Okay. So let's do this. So if you go into Blackboard, all the student files are there. Chapter 6 student files are already there. You can just click on them. You can download them. I've already got them downloaded, I hope. I've only got like 8 million things open here. You know what I'll do? I'll download them again, just so I have them again. All right. Download them together. Show them my folder. I have to fix mine up. And I'm just going to work in there. Chapter 6. What is this? A web chapter 6. I'm just going to change mine to web chapter 6 just so I have it. I'm going to extract it. Right click. And I'm going to extract it to web chapter 6. I have to go find it. There it is. Okay. So here's all my files. Okay. I've got a ton of files. There's images, there's starter files. So in the book, what does it tell me to do in the book? I'd rather do it this way than sit here and just regurgitate stuff out of the PowerPoint for you, unless you'd rather not code. Don't you rather code? Yeah? You guys are killing me, man. I don't know if it's because of Halloween. What am I going to do with you when we get close to Christmas and the holidays and Thanksgiving? You're going to be just like dying. All right, we'll have to figure some stuff out. Okay, so hang on a second. So the book says, what does the book say? The book says, we're going to launch HTML. So let's go starter 1. Where is it? Starter 1. Actually, it's not called starter 1. It's just called starter, it looks like. So I'm going to edit this with Notepad++. And there is our Lighthouse Island Bistro that you keep talking about. Okay. If you want to know what it looks like, what we can do is just double click on it, right? Let's double click on starter. There it is. So this is the page I just opened up, okay? I'm going to shrink this a little bit, like so, and I'm going to open up Notepad, okay? And here's my code. Again, this is so much easier when you have multiple monitors because you can just kind of shift stuff around. So what do they want you to do? Save the name, save the file with the name box1 HTML. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to save it. File, save as, and we're going to save it as box1. I'm sorry? Is this a grade? This is going to help you get a good grade. Box1 HTML. I'm just saving it. I already have it, so that's okay. Okay. So I've got box1 HTML. All right. What I'm going to do, and I'm going to change my starter code here because I brought it up. I'm going to change this to box 1 because that's what I'm probably going to keep looking at. Okay, so that's correct there. So that's what it looks like. So what do they want you to do? Edit the body of the web page. So where's the body? You'll notice, did you notice anything different about this web page than what we've been doing? Where's all the CSS? It's in the HTML. I'm in the HTML, right? That's different. We don't usually do that. It's embedded, okay? Usually the CSS is separate. Normally we'd have box 1 HTML and we'd have box1.css or something like that, right? And all this is all your CSS code right here. This is all your CSS, but it's all in here. That's okay, and we'll leave it that way. That's just how they have it, okay? Normally we like to keep them separate, okay? We good? Okay. So what do they want you to do? Edit the bottom, edit the body, and they want to add the following code to configure 2 div elements. So you want 2 div elements, okay? Where should we put them? Does it matter? Does it matter where we put the divs? No, it's just another element, right? Okay, so what do they want us to put? So we're going to look, and we're going to type div configure to it. So if you look, they even show you, they say div classes, here's a div here, here's a div here. Okay. Again, here's our page. So where would you put it on the page? Okay. Edit the body of the web page and add the following code to configure 2 div elements. This is actually, I opened, it's actually the starter.html file. I saved it as box1 HTML is what they wanted me to do. Okay. Okay. That makes sense. So you've got that set up that way. All right, I'm recording this again. Okay. So we want to do a div element just like it has here, okay? You've got wrappers. Remember, I can do multiple divs. I can do div within divs. I can do a whole bunch of different things, okay? So what I'm going to do is, let's see, I'll go in the content main. I'll do a div in here. Let's just see. We'll just see how it looks. Let's just try this. This is 6. This is unit 6. We are on unit 6. So we're gonna put in. I'm gonna go into the main area here. Let's do this. All right. I'm gonna hit a couple spaces. Let's just see how this comes out. All right. I'm gonna do a div. Class is equal to what? Div1. Okay. Just like that. That's what we're gonna do. Okay. Keep it simple. Create it. Now I haven't created this class yet, so there really shouldn't be anything to happen. So let's just see what happens. So I'm gonna just type. This is the first box, okay? And then I have to close it up. Remember, every time you open up an element, you want to close up. You what? Talking to yourself? I do that all the time. All right, and then the second one, I want to do a second div, but I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste it. Make my life easier, okay? This one is div 2. And guess what? Instead of the first box, it's the second box. All right, it's very exciting. I know. This is just cutting edge stuff. I get that. All right, now you have to actually put the code in there, the CSS code in there, right? And they want to tell you, they want to put. Now, if I can refresh this, I'm going to refresh this, and it's going to show what I just did. Isn't that exciting? So it created the divs, but I got nothing going on. It just spit it out, right? Because these classes have not been created yet. I have to then go up here into my CSS. Now remember, normally the CSS is in a different file, but they have it in the same file in this example, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You can do that. Typically, I don't like to do that, so I'm going to do this. So I'm going to come here, this above style, and what we're going to do, I'm going to create the elements. Dot div1, open curly. No, curly, right? Okay. And what do they want to do? They want to do width. So let's do width. We'll do 200 pixels. Height. We're just going to do one of these and see how it looks. If you haven't figured out by now, I recommend you just make minor changes and check it and verify it's still working the way it should. All right, they're using a hex code here. I'm just going to go with it, even though I don't like hex codes. They drive me crazy. I have no idea what color that is. Your task, should you accept it, is to memorize every hex code color. Yes, extra credit. I would never subject you to do that. That would be okay. 3 pixels. Is it 3 pixels? They want dashed. And then I'm on 243, doing nothing there. And then I think it's 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then padding. So you're seeing all the same things from the box. What I was talking about, the padding, the content, all that stuff. And then 5 pixels, okay? All right. Okay, I have no friends.
Me too.
I have no friends. Everybody unfriends me. Actually, I'm not. If you're talking about Facebook, I'm not on Facebook. I hate Facebook. All right. Let's see what happens. I just created this element, div1. Let's go to the website, refresh. There's my first box. Okay. So I created that first box just by doing this, just by adding this, that code there, and then adding the div right here. So there it is. Here's my div. I'm using the class as div1. I'm referencing this class. Remember the class selector? If you don't remember, you preface it with a period. Okay. The other selector is called an ID selector that we've also used, and that's when we use a pound sign. That's called the ID selector. That's these. These are called ID selectors. So you've got the ID selectors and you've got the class selectors. Okay. So I just did that, and look what happened. Look what it did. Okay. So now I can do the same thing. I can do div2. Let's say I'm in div2, just for the heck of it. .div, another class, .div2, open curly. Okay. Yes. Yeah. This one. What does yours look like? Here's something though too. Listen, you can start and stop stuff. I started this one. I didn't finish it. What happens if I just do this? I just change to a div and I do a width of 100 pixels. How does it look? I don't know. Refresh. What happens? Ooh. I mean, you can play with all kinds of stuff. What else do they want you to do? The height. They want me to change the height on this. A lot of these exercises, again, are just to get you familiar with how things are going to look. Here's my height. Here's my background color. What is this one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to stop there. How does this look now? Refresh this again. Again, you can just keep playing with it. Now it's changing this, but it doesn't look like it here. But here you can say it looks like it. Okay. All right. There's no right or wrong. It's just you play with it. You play with the padding. You do all that. That's all I'm doing. That's the only thing that's going on here. And that goes back to this. Playing with this stuff, the padding. Remember I was just showing you this before all of you yawned about the padding, the margins. That's all we're playing with. That's it. It's just getting used to the layout of it, of a page, and how to play with and padding, that kind of thing. And publishing is a big deal about how you lay stuff out. That's why I say that some people just have it and some don't, and that's okay. But you want to understand how it works. That's it. That's the box model. So don't worry about it. You've got the files. You know where they are. You don't have to file through. I just want you to get comfortable with some of this stuff. Okay. Go back and play with it later. All right. I'm recording all this so you can see what it is. If you want to go back, you can double check. That's fine. So again, here's the margins, the H1s. You can play with that. Here's the padding. Okay. Sizing a box. Here we go. I can play with margins, borders, elements. There's all kinds of stuff I can play with. You can play with all kinds of stuff like this. How big the border is, how thick the border is, the color of it, the padding. Again, you can see the content, what's going to be in there. background colors, foreground colors, text colors, pretty much anything you can play with a word processor, you can do the same thing. Okay? Is this making sense? No. No. Yes. Good. Okay. Let me go back and I'm going to finish this code here really quick, just so we have something finished here. So FFF, let me give you a border. What do they want? 3 pixels. And ridge. Again, tons of hex codes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then they've got the margin. It's 10 pixels. And the padding is 5 pixels. 5 px. Okay. So now if I go back to the web page, what does it look like? There you go. Very exciting. Okay. So you just look at the differences. The first one is 200 by 200, right? It's 200 by 200, different colors, other stuff. You've got a dashed line right there. You've got some padding in there. The second one is a 100 by 100, so it's smaller. It's half the size, basically, square footage, right? The color. What's the background color? White, right? Yeah, so that's pretty easy to see. Border tells you what kind of border it's going to do. I mean, so there's all kinds of stuff you can do. Okay. You can do bigger margins. If you really want to see something that more, do this. So right now on this first one, the padding is 5 pixels. So what if I set it for 50 pixels? Then what happens? Refresh. See what happens? It shoves the text, the content much further in. You've got much more space in there now. Padding, it's all padding. Something as simple as that, I can offset it. I can say, I don't want this right on top of the side. So when you're designing stuff, and if I do 0, here, I'll do 0. How does this look? Refresh that. See, to me, this looks terrible, right? Because it's like right on top of there. Hey, I got to create a coupon for something. I'm going to create a website. Wouldn't you do this? I have dashed lines. I could do a simple coupon, things like that, right? $5 off, 10% off, whatever you want to do. Right, but you cut it. But I wanted this to look nice, so this would be a nice thing that someone could cut out on the webpage. Yeah, that's the div. That's right here. I added those in this code right here. Those are the 2 divs. Class is div 1, class is div 2, and that refers to div 1 and div 2. Yep. Okay. So what? Okay. So these are the type of style sheets, okay, for review. Most of the time, you're going to work with external style sheets, which is what we've been doing. But in this case, right now, we're using an embedded one. It doesn't matter. A style sheet's a style sheet. And again, the style codes are here, and it works the same way. It works identical. What it ends up being, it's about maintenance. It's about whether or not you're going to have style sheets all over the place or all these codes. Because remember, if you've got a whole bunch, if you've got 30 of these web pages, and you got this style stuff in here, and you want to change the color for all of them, guess what? You've got to touch 30 pages. 30 files. You got to update all of them. That's why we separate it out. But for this, don't worry about it. Okay. So inline style, we talked about that. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So you've got your selectors. This is what I'm talking about, and I think I'm losing some of you. You've got your selectors. Okay. I'm going to stop this here. Now I'll keep it going. That's right. You've got the selector here, which is what we call that's your body in this case. So the body is the body of the document. So when that shows up in your HTML, we just call it the selector. What am I going to do with it? I want to change the color of it. Okay, so I have a property set up. And then whatever the value is, what's the value of it? I want to change it to blue. Okay, that's what's going on. And that's all we're doing. So this is the basic rule in CSS, right? So body is the basic rule. Okay, and here you can see some of the examples we've been doing this, and you've already been doing this. Okay, are we good with this? Okay, so this can be anything. body, main, H1, H5, paragraph. It can be a P for paragraph, right? It can be any of those elements. Just in this case, I have to just be body there. You can change the colors, the fonts, all that stuff. You can manipulate all that stuff. Okay? And here you go. Here's all the different things you can do. Again, if you're not sure, you can always look it up online. Okay? You don't have to always just use the book, and I'm sure you don't. Go look up online. Go for a search. What colors can I use? What's the syntax for that? Do that. Hey, guess what? I also make mistakes. And so if I tell you something and I'm like, hey, I'm not sure, please check it out. You know, don't listen to me like I'm gospel because normally I follow the book and the book makes mistakes, but I do make mistakes. So I have no problem with it. Call me on it. I don't have a problem with that. Okay? So here's a lot of the properties you can do. Okay, texting. But I wanted to do, here's all your hex codes. Okay, so extra credit, you start memorizing all the hex codes. Just kidding. No, not just these. Okay, these are colors. Let's go embedded. We're going there. I don't want there. Let's go here. Okay, and I wanted to go to, okay. So selectors. So here's the thing. You've got the class selector, which we just looked at, right? The body is a class selector. And you can have an ID selector and a symbol selector, okay? Okay, so here's the class selector. By doing the class, you do a period in front of it, and that's what I was just doing. When you look at the code, and we look at our code here, there's your period in front of it. That's a class selector. That's all it means. That's just terminology. That's all it is. Okay? So what's going to do is, it does not associate the style to a specific element. It's a class. It can do anything. So why would you do that? You create a class. So otherwise, if I create one, what was the previous ones we did? We did the body one or the H1. So if I encounter an H1 element anywhere in my HTML code, every time I encounter an H1 element, it's going to apply those styles to it. It's going to say, oh, you want H1 to be red or blue or green, whatever the case may be. So every time I hit H1, it's going to do that. Whereas if I do a class like this, I can be picky and choosy and say, no, some headers I want red and some I want blue or I don't want them at all. Does that make sense? So you're using different designations for when you want to change stuff. So it doesn't apply to everything. Because again, with the regular HTML elements, if I say H5, or I say body, or I say head, it changes it every time it sees that element. Okay? So the period is a class selector. That's what's going on with that. You can also do what's called an ID selector. And that's with the pound sign. Okay? That's what this is. Remember these? These are the pound sign. That's what's called the ID selector. It's got a pound sign in front of it. Okay? Those are different ones. So it applies a rule to only one element on the page. Okay? In this case, new. So if you look at this code, again, I look at code. I created an ID selector called float right. I didn't create it. It was already there. Float right. It's just going to appear on float right. That's it. So when float right is used, it will apply those settings to there. Does that make sense? So you've got your class selector, your ID selector, okay, and your regular setting. That's how it works out. So when you look at the code, here's my code. Every time I hit a header, it's going to apply these styles. Every time I hit an H1, it's going to apply those styles. Here, it's an ID selector. It's only going to hit the float right. Okay? If I go down here, the divs that we created, div 1, div 2, these are class selectors. It's only going to do that to those classes. Okay? So div 1 class, div 2 class. Okay? And remember, you got to put the code in there too. So here's my class. I say class is equal to div 1. Just like that. Okay? I have a wrapper ID. This is an ID. It's not a class. Where's wrapper? If I go up here, where's wrapper? Wrapper's up here. Okay? Is that making sense? I need you to be able to connect those together. Otherwise, you're going to be miserable because none of this is going to make sense to you. And if you get it, that's awesome. If you don't get it, please work on it and play with it. Look at the book. Did you have a question or are you stretching? Okay. All right. All right. After these messages, we'll be right back. Okay. All right, I'm not going to play with it. Okay, that was back. We're good. We're peachy. Okay, back to the box model. All right. Let's talk a little bit more, and I'll give you guys some time to work on it, okay? All right, so we played with this. We played with the box model. I played with configurations and the CSS. We played with this stuff. Flows. Again, you can play with the different side. And then here you go. So what they do is they say, here, this is what I just did. Isn't this what we just coded? Right? Look at that. So that's kind of what we just coded, right? I know, very exciting, right? The only reason you do this is it gets you into the idea of spatial objects, so you understand how these things work and and you can float them. And that's what's going to happen. Okay? So it's called normal flow. Browser display of elements in the order of which they are coded on the web page. And that's pretty normal. You write code, and that's how everything displays. Here's my web page right here, right? This is how everything's coming out. If I look at the code, right, this is how everything is displayed. It's coming out that way. I've got the header at the top. I've got the image. I've got my menu. Here's my divs that I just created at the top here, like so. There's my image. Okay. Here's my header. So everything just flows normally. That's what that's saying. Okay, normal flow. All right. You can change it, and you can put one inside the other, right? So it looks like this on the right side. How do you do that? It's really difficult. It takes years and years of practice. Not. Yes. Can you record this again? Back on? Okay. So what we want to do is I want to put this one like this. I want it to look like this. How do you do that? Right? So what I can do is I can take this code, all right? And what I can do is I can play, I'm going to leave everything kind of the same way. I think I can get away with that. And all you do is you can literally put one on the inner one out. So I'm going to put div 1. This is the outer. Make this the outer box. Not an outer box, but the outer box. And I'll do 1 as the inner box. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is if I move it inside, it should do that, right? And that's all it is. If I take this, I cut it, I put it in here. Again, the spacing and everything is just for me. Let's see if this works. Amazing! See? So, I mean, that's it. I mean, you took a div, and I put a div inside of a div, and you can do that, all right? And that's all that's going on there. I can play with that. And that's how you get that, and that's how you get that effect. So again, you can play with the layouts and different things like that, and that's all that's going on in your book. It's showing you about layouts, showing you how to do that stuff, okay? All right. There's another property. We have a little bit of time here. Let's do this one. I don't know if I'm going to have to. We'll talk about it. Is the float property. So I've got my normal flow, right? And that's what we just did. I put one inside the other. Again, it was as simple as what? It was as simple as just taking those and putting one inside the other. That's what it was. That's it. Okay? Simple as that. All right? But now there's something called the float property. And the idea behind the float property is just what it says. It has the appearance that something is floating. Oh, like an angel, like a chocolate bar in the sky or M&Ms or something. I have a chocolate fixation. Yeah. You could give me a bag of so you don't need to hear this on my phone. So they give you an example with this float property, okay? And the idea is it's supposed to float. And they say it's either on the right side or the left side of the browser window, okay? And you can play with this however you want to do it. And again, I have an H1. I set this up. It set up this paragraph where you want it to go, and then this this YLS, and you float it, okay? And again, the idea is to make it look like it's floating on there. We'll play with it more the next class because I want to give you guys more time to work. You seem very distracted today. Then we go into the clear property, which kind of ties into that as well, okay?